talk about drug names and how we use them and which ones we prefer to use for safety in patient care. This all falls under the concept of safety. Believe it or not, the way drugs are named really does fall under safety. Let me share with you that this information is also covered in the pharmacology textbook in chapter 2. So drug names can be chemical, generic, or trade. A chemical name is the name that shows the drug's chemical composition and molecular structure. A quick example is on this slide, and you can see how clumsy it would be if we had to write out this structure every single time we had to write the word ibuprofen, or say the chemical name of plus or minus 2-p-isobutylphenol propionic acid. It's much easier to say ibuprofen, or some people say Motrin or Advil. So back to this first slide. That's the chemical name. And you really, unless you work in pharmacology with pharmacies and such, or in research, you're not going to be really encountering that name. The names that you're going to encounter are the generic or non-proprietary names and trade names, which are proprietary. So the generic name is the name given by the United States Adopted Names Council. The trade name is the name given by the company that actually discovers and first makes that drug. And it has a registered trademark with it. So I've put a box around generic name because I want you to always focus on learning the generic names. This is the names we will use in this course consistently to talk about drugs. We will sometimes also refer to the trade name for various reasons. And when we do, we will talk about that in the setting in which we are talking about that. Also, we want to use the generic names because that promotes safety with in the patient care setting. So I've got a few things on this screen. Right now it's a little bit blank. It's got some symbols here, but let's look at this. Right now, focus on the Tylenol up in the upper left corner. That is the word Tylenol. You see the registered trademark after the L. This is a trade name. Johnson & Johnson developed this drug. They got to name it Tylenol. The generic name is acetaminophen. So any other company that makes or produces a drug with the same chemical structure as Tylenol is called acetaminophen. So here's the arrow to the trade name and the arrow to the generic name. Now over on the right, you see another bottle of medication, and it says extra strength acetaminophen. And you notice there's no registered trademark at the end of the word. This is the generic name, is acetaminophen. This is CVS's brand of Tylenol. Now within the circle here, you see that it says compared to the active ingredient in extra strength Tylenol. So they actually have the same active ingredient. CVS cannot label or market this as Tylenol because that name is owned by Johnson & Johnson. But acetaminophen does, it's the generic name, and they are allowed to call it that. So there's your generic name, and up there at the top is your trade name. They are not required to say compared to the active ingredient. That is a marketing tool. Now I want to draw your attention to the box on the bottom left that says HEB extra strength pain relief and then acetaminophen. So this is acetaminophen, the generic name. But what is the larger word is pain relief above it. Let me show you at the top in the yellow, compared to Tylenol extra strength coated tablets. Pardon me. Excuse me. There's your trade name is Tylenol, and you can see the registered trademark after the L, but they can't call it Tylenol. Now I want to draw your attention to what I just put on the screen. This type of marketing is very dangerous to the general public. you can see that the word acetaminophen on the HEB box is much smaller than the word acetaminophen over on the CVS bottle. But what's larger is the word pain relief. You don't see that on either of the other bottles in large print that way. What concerns me as a nurse is that we have people who take certain medications or have certain conditions where they should not take acetaminophen. And it's not clear really that this is acetaminophen. It's clear that it's pain relief. And we will tell people you should take perhaps ibuprofen instead of acetaminophen, or aspirin instead of acetaminophen. But if you go and look at the abundance of options for pain relievers and that are on a shelf in a store, you will see that there are tons and it's overwhelming. So this type of marketing does concern me a little bit. So here's your test. Are these generic names or are these trade names? So you have on the left, Good Sense ibuprofen. Below that, you have maximum strength Pepcid. We have naproxen sodium, Advil, famotidine, Motrin, and Aleve. Now, I'll draw your attention to the Advil at the bottom center. If you look at the L, you can see to the right of the L is your registered trademark. Just like on the Motrin, on the orange bottle, after the N, there's a registered trademark. Your Aleve in the blue box at the bottom, after the E, registered trademark. Those are things that tell you, oh, there's one here too, Pepcid AC. After the D, there's a registered trademark. Those are your trade names. Those are the names that those companies got to select for what they wanted to call their product, because they know that the generic names are somewhat long and strange and hard to pronounce, and they want to sell their product. They want to market it in a commercial, on the TV, on the radio, in different manners, and they want people to be able to say the name and recognize it easily. So that's another thing. If you look at these trade names, Pepcid, that kind of, see now Pepcid is something that we use for heartburn or reflux. And so Pepsin and Cid acid, so that sort of leads you to understand that that's kind of where their marketing was thinking. Advil is easy to say. Aleve sounds like relieve. This is a pain reliever. I'm not sure what the Motrin was, the thinking there, more something perhaps. But then up above, we have ibuprofen, naproxen sodium, and famotidine. Now, those are a little more difficult to say. And if you notice, again, on like the famotidine, upper right, it says compared to the active ingredient in original strength, and I think it says Pepcid AC. So, and if you look back over here at the Pepcid, sure enough, it's famotidine tablets. So famotidine on the Target brand, the Up and Up, this is generic name. In the center, the Good Sense naproxen sodium, generic name. And they have also put compared to Aleve caplets. Ibuprofen, this is your generic name. And again, they put compared to Advil. So again, they don't have to say the comparison, that's their choice, it's part of their marketing, but they cannot use the names that are trademarked unless, a registered trademark, unless they are the company that actually made and named that specific drug. So again, if you see registered trademark after the word, it is a trade name. If you do not, and it's somewhat long or difficult to pronounce, you can be sure it's a generic name. And good luck with your studies. I hope this helped you understand the difference. Thank you.